Thank you for joining Lowry Sports Rhetoric. I'm your host today, Daimon Lowry. Today we're doing a segment that we'll probably do frequently called Watcha Watchin. More when I say frequently, more so during the NFL and college season, where we kind of preview the games that get us excited for the weekend, the ones we're especially looking forward to, and the ones we think you should watch because we feel they're going to be good games. Today I'm doing the championship week for college basketball special. Because this is where for me life is the best. I call March my favorite month of the year. We got championship week that ramps up into the NCAA tournament. Some of my favorite days of the year are in this time where it's just basketball all day, one good game after another game. So many games that matter. So this week, starting on Saturday, kind of kicks that off for me, and then it runs, Saturday all the way through the following Sunday. So like 9 days straight of I'm watching games that I feel like are important, that are leading up to those brackets, games that are involving bubble teams, games that are involving the lower seeds where they're punching their ticket to get in. Those games are some of my favorite things to watch. And then games where people are fighting for those one seeds or fighting for the difference between a 4 seed and a 2 seed when it comes down to making the Final Four can be quite dramatic. So these games do matter and matter a lot, and that's why I wanted to kind of do this quick little segment just to kind of give you an idea of the ones that I think are especially fun to watch. So we're going to start with Saturday, and we're looking at 11 a.m. Central is for me when I start. So again, the main things I'm looking at is this game going to affect big game for seeding? Is it a team that I haven't really seen a lot during the year, so I'm trying to get a gauge on how they look for the tournament, what kind of style they are. So when I'm filling out that bracket, everybody loves to do that matchup thing. Is this a good, bad matchup for the opponent? That kind of thing. Is a game that could steal a bid in a year like this year for my Hoosiers where they are on the bubble. A team stealing a bid or one of the other bubble teams. I like to do them, root against them, hope they lose, that kind of thing. So that's always fun. And then we do a little family roto league where we pick these different teams and have a Roto League champion for the family. So you might reference me, or you might hear me reference that's a Roto League game. That means I'm only watching it just because it has implications for our Roto League. So, which it's still fun. Usually those still give me some insight into who's playing well for leading up to the tournament, but it's not necessarily your typical game that I'd be watching if it wasn't for the Roto League. So Saturday we're starting at 11 a.m. On our main screen, the one that's going to have my primary focus. I got Arkansas versus Tennessee. SEC's been extremely good this year. Typically, I feel like the SEC basketball is overrated, but this year especially, there's just a bunch of really good teams in the SEC. So these are two towards the top. These are teams that both of them have that ability. Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, maybe run all the way if they get hot. Check those teams out, figure out that style of play. It's always nice to especially if you haven't seen them already. I think both these teams are very fun to watch. So definitely good way to start the day. On the second screen at that time, I'm gonna have Villanova versus Butler. That is more of a twofold. It's twofold. Villanova is one of the teams I typically watch. I really like Jay Wright. I've been a fan of Villanova going back to when Kerry Kittles was there, and just the way Jay Wright built that program into a powerhouse. I've been since he's got going. So I watch them as much as I can, and then this one also has some Roto League implications. So that's another reason why I'll be watching it. Then on the third screen, I got Davidson versus Dayton. Roto League implications, but I also feel like the A10 has been pretty solid this year. They should have multiple bids, and those are teams that could win that first. That could be talked about as your Cinderellas. Both of these teams I think could potentially get in, and especially Davidson. Davidson's really solid this year. They're going to get in. They might make a Sweet 16 run. They have that kind of ability. So looking at getting a first glimpse of them maybe, so that you can decide if you want to pick them in that first round matchup, if it's a 12-5 or a 13-4. Something like that might be fun to watch. Check them out, see how they play. 1 o'clock, we got IU versus Purdue. Obviously, this will be my game of the weekend. I need the Hoosiers to win this badly. I'm skeptical that we can win at Purdue. The way we played this year, we probably will choke this game at the end, but it should be fun. Hopefully, they can keep me interested till the end. even if they break my heart at the end. And if we somehow pull this win off, which I do think we're capable of, we haven't shown it recently, then that'll be a big win. Should help us punch our ticket into March, which obviously anybody that's an IU fan knows we haven't done recently or frequently enough. So hoping for that. At the same time, on the second screen, we got Kentucky versus Florida. Florida's a bubble team this year. Kind of needed them to lose, but they're playing Kentucky, and I hate Kentucky, as any good IU fan should. So this is a hard one. I'll watch it, and then in the last minute, maybe depending on whether IU beats Purdue or not, I'll decide who I'm really rooting for in that. But it'll be on the screen. On the third TV, we got TCU versus West Virginia. This one also, TCU is a bubble team this year. They're trying to get as many wins as they can, losing to West Virginia. I think I said Virginia a minute ago, but it's West Virginia that they're playing. Losing to West Virginia would be a bad loss for them at this time on the bubble. So they need that win. It'd be a road win, and they're also my team in our one of my teams in the Family Roto, so I'll be cheering them on for that reason. Then at the 3 o'clock hour, we get a little bit of a break. Only one game really to focus on, but it's a pretty good one. We got Texas versus Kansas. Early in the year, Texas looked like they could be a Final Four type team. Kansas is fighting for a number 1 seed. So this should be a really good game. See if Texas can kind of get that momentum back that they had earlier in the year, and they actually got a big win the other day. So building that momentum towards March. That's always important in my mind. I always like to look for those teams that are getting hot at the right time. So this might give you an indication whether Texas or Kansas is one of those teams. And like I said, Kansas is fighting for a 1 seed, so it's an important game for them. Then at 5 o'clock, we got something special. Okay, I don't care who your team is. If you are a fan of college basketball, North Carolina Duke has been a rivalry to watch. I've watched the majority of the North Carolina Duke's games going back to the early 90s when I first started becoming a big-time college basketball fan. I've only missed a handful in the last 25 years. And this one will be the last one where Coach K is on the bench. Coach K's last game in Durham. That, to me, as a college basketball fan, is must-see TV. I think if you're a basketball fan at all of any team, you're going to grow up talking about Coach K. You'll be talking about Coach K forever because he is currently the best coach that the sport has had. Hard to argue. Obviously, Bobby Knight's my favorite, but Coach K surpassed him, and what he's done at Duke has been amazing. So to watch him play his last home game, that to me is must-see TV. I will have the Iowa State Baylor on a second TV game just because Baylor's fighting for that 1 seed, and so that'll be an interesting game to watch. But my primary attention will be on UNC Duke, even if it's a blowout, because I want to see that crowd giving love to Coach K and Coach K soaking in those last few moments of a spectacular career. Then 7:30 Central, we got another really special game. Ohio Valley championship game, likely to be Murray State versus Belmont. We'll see. Upsets happen. But these two teams have been the class of the Ohio Valley for the last few years. At least one of them is almost always in the championship game. Most years it's both of them going head-to-head. I always watch this game. It never ceases to entertain. And so this should be no different. Murray State's one of those teams that they're probably getting in regardless. So if you're a bubble watcher, if your team's on a bubble, you're going to want to root for Murray State, because if Belmont wins, Murray State's probably also getting in. So that's going to steal a bid. And Murray State's a team you're going to see how they play. They're one of these that if the right matchups, they could win a game in the first round, do a Sweet 16 run, maybe even the Elite 8 kind of run, because they're very good, they're well coached, and the school's used to having teams make those kinds of runs. So, they're not scared of the moment, and so that's a team to kind of check out. Those are the teams I think are the most fun to check out this time of year. Just see what style they have, so you kind of have that idea when it's time to fill out those brackets. Does their style match up, good or bad versus the draw that they got? Then if you're still hanging in there and you're still looking for something to watch, come 9 o'clock Central, we got USC UCLA, both ranked, rivalry game. teams that, the Pac-12 hasn't been good over the last few years, but this is one of the better Pac-12 groups in a while, I think. So both these teams could have the potential to make a run in March. We'll see. I don't know how far, but they have that potential, so it could be a fun game to watch. I'm looking forward to it. And then also at that same time, San Diego State's playing, so I'll have that on my second screen because they're one of my roto teams. So I'll just be checking them out for that reason. And they're also a team fighting to scratch on the bubble. So that's another one of those conundrums where I'm rooting for them for roto, but it's probably better for me if they lose for IU's sake. Always a conundrum. Sunday we got a little bit of a lighter schedule, so kind of get to breathe a little bit. Only, on the main screen at 11 we got the Big South Championship game. Always fun to watch a team punch their ticket, no matter who it is. The crowd goes crazy, so that's a good way to start the day. And then at the same time on the second screen, we'll have Michigan versus Ohio State, another rivalry game. Michigan's a bubble team fighting to get in. Ohio State is a team that's been up and down this year, so are they playing well going in? That's always interesting. Plus, that game has some roto implications for our league. Then at 1 o'clock, this is another one like that Ohio Valley Championship. The Missouri Valley Championship is always must-see TV for me. The winner of the Valley, typically, they put a lot of teams in the Sweet 16 over the years. They're probably going to have multiple bids. Chicago Loyola could be in there. Everybody's sweetheart team over the last few years has made these runs. Now they're doing it with a new coach. Let's see if they can make it to the championship game. But regardless, whoever's in there from that group, that conference usually does something good. So it's kind of a fun game to watch to give an idea of like, okay, what do these teams look like? How do they match up against the big guys? Is there reason to think one of these teams can make an upset if they make it? And so it's a fun game to watch. And that's really what I have for Sunday. It's kind of a weaker slate on it. Normally Sunday championship week has better games than this, but that's really all I had that I was interested in. So going to kind of maybe spend some time with the wife so that she's not entirely mad at me for what's coming. Maybe take a good nap so that I can recharge the batteries a little bit before the week that's coming, because it's coming. Then Monday we got a host of championship games that night. Fun stuff for you to watch. We got the Sun Belt Championship, the SoCon Championship, both at 6 p.m. Depending on who's in those games, that'll determine which one's on the main screen and which one's the second screen. Roto might have some implications, but usually it's just, are these teams that do I need to check out? Do I feel like they have a chance to make a run? And I'm looking, like I said before, I'm looking for guys that look like, maybe they have a point guard that I feel like is going to be able to score even against big-time competition. Maybe they have a center that I feel like can handle playing defense even against the big boys. And that's usually the things I'm looking for, hey, is this a team I think can pull off that big first-round upset? So it's always fun to watch those games. And then, like I said before, the crowd goes crazy. The kids go crazy. They love punching their tickets. And that's always fun to watch. And then that night at 8 o'clock, we got a West Coast Conference semifinal game, and then following that 20 minutes later, the other semifinal. Both of those should be good television. The West Coast Conference is Gonzaga's conference. Usually it's Gonzaga and maybe St. Mary's, and that's all you got to worry about. This year you add San Fran and BYU to the mix. Both of those teams are bubble teams, but they're very capable. So it could be interesting. Could be a bid stealer. Obviously, Gonzaga, the number one overall seed, is going to make it. St. Mary's is probably going to make it even if they don't win. So can those other two teams pull off some upsets? And then it gives you a good feel for what St. Mary's and Gonzaga has, because they are going to be in the bracket. So those should be good games to watch. Tuesday, we got the Colonial Athletic Championship game. Very good chance that Townsend will be in this game, and Townsend's one of these teams this year that I think has a chance to make some noise come March, has a chance to go on a run. So especially if Townsend's in it, that could be a main screen viewing. Could be pretty good. And then on the second screen, we'll probably have the Northeast Conference Championship game. Wagner is a team I'm looking at there. If they make it, another team maybe can make some noise. Could be fun to watch. Then at 8 o'clock, we got the Summit Championship League game. I'm almost certain that South Dakota State will be in this. Another team, they've done it over the years. The fan base is used to it. They go to the tournament a lot. They've had first round upsets in the past, and so want to check them out, see what style of play they have. Haven't had a chance to watch them yet this year. This is my chance to see them, see if they're the kind of team that I can get behind for a first round upset. And then at 8 p.m., the West Coast Conference Championship. That will be, on the big screen. Probably Gonzaga versus St. Mary's. St. Mary's just beat Gonzaga. Can they get the revenge? If not, if it's one of the other teams, BYU, San Francisco, one of those two teams, then hey, that's a bid situation. Now we're talking bubble team. Now we're talking a team that has a chance to knock out the number one team in the country and punch that ticket. So that's always fun to watch, and so that'll be my primetime viewing with the other game on the second TV. Wednesday, again, kind of slows down. We got during the day we got some the ACC tournament getting going. So maybe you're looking at, if you're a bubble watching team, Virginia Tech and Wake Forest are probably playing that day. They'll most likely win, but if they lose, that's going to pop their bubble. You got the Patriot League championship that day, and they haven't announced the time for it yet. So I can't tell you that, but that will be my number one viewing thing because, again, looking for punching the ticket, looking to see if the winner out of there has anything for me for an upset. Thursday, we start to crank it up again. Okay, now this is where March becomes my favorite time of year and my wife's least favorite, because now I'm on the couch at 11 a.m. looking, maybe 10:30 actually, looking to see where the teams, who's the bubble team, which conference tournament has a game that I need to watch. There's multiple ones that day, getting to be, ACC is going to be in the third round by that point. Second round for some of these, some of the other big ones. So you're looking at teams like Creighton and Michigan and Indiana and Rutgers and Florida, and the A-10 St. Bonaventure's in Dayton. Out west late at night, that night, we got San Diego State. All of these teams will be in games where they should win, they could win, they'll help them punch their bubble. But if they lose and you're a bubble team, that's what you want to see, because that helps your team get in over them. So that's what we're really looking for that day. And then that will lead into Friday, which is where I really start to have fun, because now we got a combination of during the morning and the early afternoon. We got more of these, now the bubble teams are playing games that really matter. Teams that are going to be in, where if they can win them, they can really punch their ticket. Usually these end up, a lot of them being very good games. I won't know until that day what I'm looking at, but it'll be 3 TVs wide, and I'll be switching them to the games that are close down the stretch as we go. And then in the evening, the Big East semifinals, Pac-12 semifinals, SEC semifinals. These are games that matter. These are games that you're going to have teams, Sweet 16 level matchups, teams that can make runs facing other teams that can make runs. So those are fun. They kind of give you an idea who's good and who's not, style of play, that kind of thing. So I'll be watching as much of that as I can get in that night, and probably be changing the channel frequently to, keeping my eye on who's in a 5-point game, who's got 2 minutes left and it's close. That's what I'm going to be watching, but also really paying attention to the big matchups and the bubble teams. Saturday, maybe, I'm going to call Saturday of championship week the 5th best sports day of the year. Okay, you got the Super Bowl's number 1. You got the first 2 days of the tournament, 2 and 3. You got the NCAA football championship, number 4. And number 5, best day of the year for a sports fan, in my opinion, is going to be Saturday of championship week. There are so many good games. You start 10 a.m., American East championship, almost always has Vermont in it. This team always goes to the tournament. They're fun to watch. Some years they have a team that can pull off upsets. Sometimes they don't. This is usually when I decide if I'm going to take them or not, or at least have a feel for what style of play they have, because they can switch it up. You got that, so that's must see TV. And the best thing is when they don't make it, when they get upset and that other team goes bonkers because they actually knocked off Vermont. That's a lot of fun. They're kind of low key. They're like the Gonzaga, like a little baby version of Gonzaga on the East Coast. They just win and win and win. They just aren't quite on the level of Gonzaga. So then from there we go to semifinals games and the SEC at noon, kicking off at noon. We got the SEC, Big Ten, semifinal games going to be going on both at the 12 a.m. and the 2 a.m. Also, really good games. These are going to be games featuring teams that can go Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4. Kind of give you a clue of like who those teams are this year, who's playing well, who's tough, who's streaky. Those kind of things are the things that you can learn from watching these games. And then they're a lot of fun. A lot of times buzzer beaters. These games matter to these kids and the fans, and they're fun to watch. Then 3:00 we got the MAAC, the Mid Atlantic Athletic Association Championship game. So again, let's watch those fans go crazy when their team punches that ticket. That could be fun. And then at 5, that's when the night really starts going. You got the Big 12, you got the the Mountain West, you got the Big East, all doing their championship games. Depending on who makes it, if there's bubble situations, who the matchups are, those are going to be screens 1, 2, and 3, and possibly switching depending on how good they are, which ones come down the buzzer. But those are tickets being punched and should be high level games to watch. And then that leads into the next round of the ACC title game, the Big 12 title game, Conference USA. Again, 3 TVs wide, lots of fun. Then that night, we go back to the Cinderella Punch-In. 9 o'clock, we got the WAC. 10:30, we got the Big West. I'll be drinking 5-hour energy drinks throughout the day. I'll be doing my best to stay up. Some of my favorite memories are watching the Big West Final. It's usually a lot of fun. The teams are usually very competitive. And every once in a while, you can see a future NBA player make their mark for the first time, or a team that's going to, get an upset in the first round of the Big Dance. So that's always a lot of fun to watch. And then that rolls into Sunday. We're starting to crank down. It's been a long week. Our endurance is low, but you get rejuvenated when you tune in at watch the SEC final and the A10 final. Those are screens 1 and 2. The SEC final this year I expect to be phenomenal. The team, like I said, it's a really good year for them. They're going to have 2 good teams in that final, and then that leads up to the American Athletic and the Big Ten. American Athletic Houston is going to be a well-seeded team, a team you need to know. If you haven't watched them, you're going to want to watch that game. And then the Big Ten, obviously, for me as an IU fan, is must-see TV. And then you get a short break, get some food, freshen up a little bit, and now we got the brackets released. What could be better? You watch that, you see if your team made it, you see what seed you got, you look at that first glimpse of the matchups, that whole 9 days of watching basketball, you look at that thing and you go, oh, there's that Cinderella. What's the matchup? Yes, I like it, and you make that mental note. When I fill out this bracket, I'm taking that one. That's and it's the fun is like 2 hours, right? Like it's just so much fun. And then you print off your brackets and you start filling them out, and then you print out another one and you fill that out, and you wad both of those up and throw them away because they're garbage. And then you do a third bracket, and then now maybe you're starting to feel confident, so you wad that up, throw it away. You get your fourth bracket, and that's the fun of March Madness, right? So that's the week. That's how it works in the Lowry House. And, this should give you some ideas of some things you can watch. I hope this was entertaining. I hope it gave you some things to keep an eye on. And we'll see you next time.